It's no secret that Roblox is full of some of the worst and most depraved people on the internet. I've been playing Phantom Forces, one of Roblox's most well-known FPS games of all time, for coming up on 9 years. The last 4 years, I've been making videos on this game, and being part of this community for so long, I've seen things that I cannot continue to ignore. I've seen things from other Phantom Forces YouTubers that have disgusted me. I've seen things from contractors that have disgusted me, but I never truly looked into and pieced together what has been going on. So over the past few weeks, I have been putting together everything I know, interviewing as many people as possible, and the things I found in my investigation have changed the way I look at this game. This behavior goes all the way to the top, and I mean all the way up. And in this video, I'll be explaining why I believe Stylis Studios, the developers behind Phantom Forces, have been covering these things up or are even responsible themselves. Viewer discretion is advised. BellaTheBatPony was a Phantom Forces Twitch streamer who has since deleted all of his streams. However, it seems his Twitter and Fur Affinity are still active to this day. You can probably tell where this is going by his username. BellaTheBatPony was 19 and messaging a Discord user who confirmed their age was 13. Bella continued to talk to the individual, and somehow the age of consent was brought up almost immediately. And yes, I pretty much cannot show any of the screenshots from their messages, but you guys know what happened. Luckily, the victim contacted people about it and word spread about the situation. BellaTheBatPony was kicked from Stylis Studios' content creator program, which he had been a member of at the time. They also banned him from the Stylis Discord a year later. Stylis Studios forgot to ban a guy who talked to a 13-year-old for a year. But I think now is a good time to talk about what the content creator program for Phantom Forces is. It's a program for YouTubers, Twitch streamers, and maybe TikTokers that make Phantom Forces content. They receive some benefits such as free in-game credits and a tag that shows up when they chat in-game. One of the perks they used to have was the ability to get a skin in-game with their logo and name. They wouldn't actually get any money for this, but it was a cool perk of making videos for Stylis Studios. They also got a billboard on the mall map, which is, by the way, a really bad map, but regardless, they stopped doing both of those perks because so many PF YouTubers were talking to kids. But what about the skins that were already in the game? They removed the skins from the YouTubers who were exposed, right? Well, yeah, they did. After multiple years, you could put skins on your guns that were from actual pedophiles for years. And this isn't close to the only questionable thing that developers have done. We're just getting started. Juke was a bad business YouTuber and Twitch streamer with over 12,000 subscribers at the time he was exposed. After making bad business videos for quite some time, Juke would suddenly quit the game with no explanation. The hidden reason for this was that he had been banned over allegations of sending explicit messages and a photo of his nude persona to a minor in late 2021. The truth was that he had been talking to a lot of different kids. He even sent creepy messages to other Phantom Forces YouTubers while being aware they were minors as well. When the bad business developers found out, they didn't publicly expose Juke, which was stupid, and I criticized them for that, but they did inform other Roblox developers about the messages Juke had sent. Despite this, Juke quickly became a Phantom Forces content creator, which allowed him to have a position of power in a server that has no age verification and is full of minors. The reason Juke was so quickly allowed to join the content creator program was that he was friends with AxisAngle. AxisAngle is one of the 3 main creators of Phantom Forces. Juke and Axis even allegedly met up at a furry convention, so they probably knew each other pretty well. But I guess Axis didn't know Juke liked kids though, right? Actually, yeah, he did, because the bad business developers literally showed him the messages. But I'm sure Juke will never do any of this stuff again. I'm sure he's fine. A YouTuber named Jax found out about some of these original conversations, confronted Juke about it, and Juke immediately deleted his YouTube, but not his Twitch because he just loves his Twitch too much. Jax uploaded a video on the entire situation that ended up receiving nearly 100,000 views, and that's when the real bombshells started to drop. The first was that Juke had sent multiple explicit videos to minors, which I will not be showing here. They're in the Jax videos linked in the description if you need proof, but serious viewer discretion is advised. Secondly, he convinced a 16-year-old victim to let him drive to her house. He got her to lie about his age being 19 to her mother when he was really 22. He shaved his beard to look young, and he prepared to cross state lines to meet up with a minor. He even had second thoughts and pretended he had this scary dream where he was caught as being a kid toucher. But in the end, he did actually meet up with the minor and did the unthinkable. After this was exposed months later, Juke was planning to have his mom drive him to the police station so he could turn himself in. Jax explains that a friend convinced Juke that he shouldn't turn himself in, saying that what he did wasn't illegal. I guess his friend didn't know anything about laws because
some guy tried to tell me that it's sickening that I went live today. What happened happened. We can't change the past. That's not who I am. I'm sorry for the things that happened. I am from the people that are holding a grudge. That's all I can say. So I'll be back tomorrow.
Hal, also nicknamed Forklift Certified, was a Stylis Studios moderator who disappeared from the Stylis Discord suddenly and without a trace. What did this Hal moderator do that made him leave? Essentially, he sent countless messages in the Stylis Discord harassing a 15-year-old and calling them a and other explicit things, to the point where if you searched up messages from him that included that L word, you would get a list of over 100 results. This guy was a moderator on a server linked on a Roblox game that has no age verification, by the way. I even went and confirmed this with the mods recently, and they said they don't even ban people who are under 13 because it's Discord's problem. Can you at least try to ban people that are under 13? I'll continue to be a moderator for years until a 12-page Google document was released showing all of his messages, which are also linked in the description, and once again, viewer discretion is advised. I sent messages to some of the other moderators on the Stylis Discord just to see if they would tell me why Hal was removed, and these are the responses I got. The first one was just a shrugging face. A couple of people just completely ignored the message, even though I had previous messages with them, and this Stylis moderator explained that Hal had left because of threats and and I said, that's really sad. Why were they getting hate? And the moderator explained that Hal had sent out drunk messages years ago, which I guess being drunk makes you crystal. The problem with his response is that it kind of implies that this was a one-off thing, which would still be extremely bad considering it's a kids game server, but these were messages over the course of months, hundreds of messages, and you're running a server for a game where the largest demographic is age 9 to 12. The moderator's message also betrays the fact that Hal left of his own accord when the messages were exposed. So Stylis Studios didn't publicly announce what Hal did, but the messages are from public channels on their Discord, right? Can't people just look up the messages still?
Oh, by the way, my name is Thomas. You could call me WolfDawgz. I prefer WolfDawgz better than anything else, but I'm 18. I love playing Roblox.
WolfDawgz was a Phantom Forces content creator and map designer who made maps like Jungle and Blizzard. And if any Phantom Forces players watching this video were wondering why those maps were removed because they were pretty popular, you're about to find out. Because once again, despite this guy being a well-known map maker for the game, Stylis Studios decided it was too much trouble to tell anyone that he was talking to kids. To be blunt, he sent messages of his Willie to a minor, and while his YouTube channel is deleted, his Roblox developer page is still up, although it clearly hasn't been updated in a while since it uses the old Discord name system. Once again, Stylis Studios completely swept this under the rug, meaning that WolfDawgz, like many others working for Stylis, was able to get off scot-free. Mar Demon, or Mar for short, was the main contractor for Phantom Forces for years, who essentially did all the balance changes and conversions and things of that nature. He was essentially the fourth most important Phantom Forces developer and was responsible for many of the additions still in the game to this day. He was also good friends with AxisAngle. Unfortunately, I don't personally have the messages that caused him to step down. Suffice to say, Mar was talking to kids, which was confirmed by AxisAngle in a live stream I'll talk about later in this video, because that has some fun clips in it.
Which are kind of like, yeah, it sucks, you know, like, don't do it again. And then there's like being a 16-year-old boy.
You'd think the fourth most important person at Stylis Studios being outed as a creep would be big news, but it wasn't, because as usual, Stylis Studios swept it under the rug. Mar made an announcement to the Stylis Studios Discord about some random game called Prison Architect on March 31st, 2021, which is very good comedic timing, considering the next day, April Fool's Day, Mar suddenly said he was quitting because of mental health and the toxic relationship he had with his work. So sad. This was met with insane confusion because Mar had been with the game for years, and leaving on April Fool's Day was seen as incredibly strange timing. The developers were aware of what Mar did, and they allowed him to make up essentially whatever excuse he wanted to stop him from being exposed. And Mar and AxisAngle are still friends to this day and interact on public furry websites. Luckily, I was able to get screenshots of their interactions from a furry because I am not going on those websites to get those. Willow was the very next contractor after Mar. Let's not beat around the bush, okay? He also talked to a minor. This time, Stylis did better though, because Willow actually released a statement, which is now deleted, but at least this time the developers were owning up to their mistakes. They hired another but at least people were being told about it, right? But what happened next was very strange. Willow was fired, but AxisAngle said that he was considering rehiring them. To be fair, the age gap with that minor in particular was 18 to 16, but a day later, even more minors came forward with their stories of Willow messaging them, and suffice to say, he was not rehired. Also, another individual named Callie, who was a contractor, was banned for talking to minors alongside Willow, but I don't know anything about them, so I won't go into detail. Just another creep in the PF community to add to the tally. But at least this time, they fired Willow instead of letting him just disappear into the shadows like the other groomers. So stylists learned their lesson. Right, guys? Right, guys? I suspected Sid9 from the moment they popped into existence. From our first DMs, their messages sounded oddly familiar. Sid9 was the contractor for Phantom Forces directly after Willow was exposed, and I mean directly. If you take a look at the Sid9 profile though, something is way off. They have very few friends, they're in very few servers, and they essentially do not talk to anyone. Now, AxisAngle said that after the Willow incident, all the contractors would be hired in-house. But suffice to say, I did not trust Axis for a second after what he's done. I looked at all of my messages with Sid9, I looked at their account, but I couldn't shake this feeling that something was off. But then I noticed something. The Sid9 account was created on November 10th, 2022. Then I looked back at those announcements about Willow leaving, and I literally had to get out of my chair and walk around my room because it all clicked. Willow resigned on November 9th, 2022. The Sid9 account was created on November 10th, 2022. Then on November 11th, AxisAngle says that Willow will not be returning. Then this new contractor is an unknown, anonymous individual with no community connections. Was this the same person? Was this Willow? I had a friend on Discord with good community connections who was able to get me into contact with an ex-contractor. And they explained that while they didn't know who is currently running the account, Willow had been on the Sid9 account and was still being paid to work on the game. The developers rehired a behind the scenes to work on their children's game. AxisAngle is one of the 3 main creators of Phantom Forces. We already established that he was friends with a furry who crossed state lines to meet up with a 16-year-old and rehired Willow after they talked to kids. He has his Twitter linked on his Discord account where you can see occasional PF updates and videos of him running upstairs in his fursuit, so wholesome and smelly. And if you're a Phantom Forces player looking for the newest PF updates on Twitter, do not look up AxisAngle into the search bar because there's a good chance you might run into some great commissioned art he's bought from furry artists. I also don't know what this site is doing in his game, but whatever, he paid for to be made of his Roblox character, but you have to go out of your way to find it. Not really. By the way, it's not technically linked to Phantom Forces itself, but you know what is linked to the game? The official Stylis Studios Twitch channel. So let's see a stream Axis did a few months ago. The first thing he did is started drinking a lot on stream. Very interesting. Then he decided to show off his cool furry mouse pad to the kids who were watching his stream, which is, by the way, a crime that can get you up to a year in prison depending on the state. Anyway, the stream was automatically age restricted by Twitch, but that was after he showed the kids his awesome mouse pad. And Axis began to rant about some of the most disturbing things I have ever heard on a live stream, seemingly out of the blue. Nobody asked him.
So the reason why Mar was let go is because there was some bad, I don't know, like people got wind that he did stuff that wasn't super savory in 2018, but that was like a long time ago. And but that wasn't the reason why we let him go. It was because I think there was a lot of hostility. There was a lot of bad PR.
In this clip, he says that Mar did some little oopsie daisies and talked to kids, but it was like 2 years ago, you know? People make mistakes. The biggest smoking gun from this clip is the fact Axis says they only let go of Mar when people found out. Not when Axis found out, not when the developers found out, when the community found out, which means Axis definitely knew and chose to keep this a secret until other people discovered what Mar had done, making this the second developer AxisAngles will continue to employ despite the fact they like kids. I think inappropriate messages with a minor should have a zero tolerance policy on a children's game, Axis.
Oh, that's some peer pressure. I'm not against peer pressure, by the way.
I don't know, like in my opinion, there are things like down here which are kind of like, yeah, it sucks, you know, like don't do it again. And then there's like a 16-year-old boy, right? And there's like a, I'm like digging it. I'm digging my grave, I guess.
Why do you feel the need to say this stuff unprompted? Hey guys, if I ever, talk to a minor, that would kind of suck. But I mean, people make mistakes and it's not like I'm a little kid, guys. Why do you need to rationalize this stuff? Nobody is accusing you. Nobody's accusing you, Axis. Did you do something? I didn't have to dig this stuff up. It's not hidden on some crazy secret website. He streamed this on his official Twitch channel. Not to mention, Axis removed blood from Phantom Forces recently, so it could get a 5+ age rating. Am I saying that AxisAngles himself is a Juke type individual? Originally, the video was going to end here, but something came out before I actually released this video. However, it proves stylis guilt more than anything I could have actually brought up in this video. Somebody found messages of Axis saying some of the most horrific things back in 2016 to 2017 on the public channels of the stylis Discord. Keep in mind that the stylis Discord was always for a children's game. When these were discovered, stylis went into complete panic mode. They literally did an Among Us emergency meeting in a private voice call. Luckily, people have third-party Discord clients that allow you to see these calls, which stylis actually tried to ban people for using because it would expose them. They won't ban you for being 12 because they probably like you being on the server, but they will ban you if you can see their private chats. Anyway, they went completely nuclear and deleted every main chat, general, rank 100 club, test plays. All of those 8 years of history have been deleted. And keep in mind, this is AxisAngles in the spotlight, so he'd have to apologize now for what he did, right? Actually, instead, he had another one of the main Phantom Forces developers just cover for him. They said that blah, 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 the server wasn't taken as seriously before 2018, which is the dumbest argument I've ever heard for the messages. 2016 minus 1996. He was 20 years old. Axis was 20 years old when he said this. He was 20. The problem is that this fails to mention that there were messages from tons of the mods back in 2018. And keep in mind that there was an official ROBLOX event for Phantom Forces during 2018, and they were still saying these things. Because they deleted everything, the only person I was able to look at for the messages was a guy named Cry, and he sent these messages. And this was the first person I looked at. And like I said, there were far more mods doing this stuff, but they went completely nuclear and deleted everything. Please spread the word about this in the game, in the Discord. Dislike the game, report the game. Please tell people about this. They cannot do this.